Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Troy. Hey, I lost my voice a little bit, but I still feel like I need to come on here and talk to you because this is really important. So, MAGA Republicans just can't help the fact that they're racist. It's so rooted in their ideology. It's why they supported Donald Trump, the man with a 50-year history of racism, the man that single-handedly revived the white supremacist alt-right movement in the United States. They can't hide the fact that that's what MAGA philosophy is. That's what MAGA ideology is. It's white supremacy. They get really excited when a couple of black celebrities don white supremacist merch, and they put that all over Twitter because that makes them feel like they're excused from their racism, right? They found a couple of black celebrities that agree with them, so that wipes away their entire history of racism. But they just can't help themselves. They just come back to it every chance they get. Check this out. Dr. Oz, running for Senate in Pennsylvania, was at an event with Adam Laxalt, who's the MAGA Republican running for Senate in Nevada, two very important seats. And they were at an event that was hosted by Matt Gaetz's parents. Okay, so just that image alone for you right there. Oz and Laxalt hosted an event hosted by Gaetz's parents. It's just MAGA hell. But they managed to hold this event in front of a vintage car that belonged to Adolf Hitler. And it had swastikas all over it. This was like Hitler's car. They were having this event with Nazi paraphernalia in the background. And these are people that want to represent their constituents, want to represent their states in the United States Senate. And they think that this type of shit is cool. They apparently didn't learn the lesson that Donald Trump failed to learn too, which is sort of rule number one in American politics, which is that Nazis bad. Just stay away from Nazi shit. I don't know why that's so complicated, but it always comes back down to these images, these racist images for these people. They just can't escape it. They're so excited by this historical memorabilia they didn't even check. They didn't even check on it. They didn't even realize that there were swastikas on the car at this public event, kind of broadcasting to the world who these people really are and what they think about a large majority of the people they could potentially be representing in the Senate, and the white supremacist movement that they're advocating with their MAGA fascist ideology. These people have let their values be known for some time now. It's not like anyone who votes for these people can't claim to know what they stand for. MAGA Republicans have put their ideology on blast for several years now. When they first supported Donald Trump with his history of racism, and now continuing to support him after all the racist things he said and while he was in office. There's fine people on both sides referring to Nazis, breaking that Nazi rule of politics. People continue to stand behind him, letting their values be known loud and clear. But here's another example. Check out this video with Marjorie Taylor Green. She's speaking to a crowd about Ketanji Brown Jackson and her first week on the court. Check out what she says to this crowd of presumably MAGA fascist Republicans.
I call them communist. Democrats are communists, okay? Yes, they are. And that's what this new United States Supreme Court judge is. She's a communist. And they want to twist and turn using the power of the Supreme Court to change the way we vote by giving more rights to minorities instead of keeping voting rights equal, because that's what it should be. There should be no difference in any of your identity, your skin color. Guess what? None of us stood in line and picked our skin color before we were born.
What kind of babbling racist bullshit was that? First of all, the Democrats as communists thing is played. I would challenge this woman to give me any kind of coherent definition of the word communism if she thinks that the Democratic Party embraces communist ideology. Okay, that's absolutely ridiculous. It's a Red Scare terror tactics. Like, what is this, like the 1950s? We're just going to call our political enemies communists? They have no freaking idea what communism is. But then she goes into Ketanji Brown Jackson and calling Ketanji Brown Jackson a racist for supporting the 14th Amendment and saying that the 14th Amendment shouldn't be about supporting minorities, shouldn't be about supporting people of color. What the hell does she think the 14th Amendment was written for? When does she think the 14th Amendment was written? The 14th Amendment, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments were written post-Civil War to integrate and protect newly freed black slaves into our society. The argument she was making in that case that was brought before the Supreme Court about the Alabama redistricting, her argument was deeply rooted in the 14th Amendment. in the fact that the 14th Amendment, what the plaintiffs were, the case that the plaintiffs were bringing before the Supreme Court was that the gerrymandering in Alabama had violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. That to take a state with 27%, that's 27% African American, and only have one majority black congressional district, that's a violation of the 14th Amendment, because the 14th Amendment was written to ensure equal protection for black people and minorities in this country. That's the case that Ketanji Brown Jackson was making. And Marjorie Taylor Green wants to take that, turn it, spin it into some kind of reverse racism bullshit. The 14th Amendment, specifically the Equal Protection Clause, was written so that newly freed black slaves could be equitably integrated back into society in the United States. Equitably integrated. It was written for black slaves, for black people, for African Americans. She can't now stand up here and say that enforcing the Equal Protection Clause as it was written to protect people of color, to protect former slaves, to protect minorities in this country is somehow a racist stance, is somehow racist against white people. This is so typical of the MAGA fascist Republicans. They can't help but themselves with their projection. They have such racist ideology. All they can do is project their racism onto people of color. They're trying to help out people of color in this country and try to fight back against racism is somehow racist against white people. It's reverse racism. It's somehow hurting white people or white children. That teaching the history of slavery in classrooms is hurting white children. That teaching the history of Jim Crow in public school classrooms is somehow offensive and hurts the feelings of little white children. This is ridiculous. This is not a sign of a healthy society. This is a sign of a racist, fascist ideology in the MAGA Republicans for sure, but it's not the sign of a society that's growing beyond its original sin, which is slavery. Marjorie Taylor Green and Dr. Oz and Adam Laxalt and all these MAGA fascists can try to hide it all they want, but they are a racist party. They are the party of racist Donald Trump. They are a fascist ideology that believes in whites first, white supremacy, that America is a white Christian nation. They've as much as admitted that they are Christian nationalists. There is no room for any other religion in America for them. They are racist. They are xenophobic. They are Islamophobic. They are anti-Semitic. This is the roots of their ideology. If you are not a white Christian male, heterosexual cis Christian male in the United States, you have no place in the Republican Party today. It's that simple. And they broadcast that all the time. They can't help but broadcast it at every chance they get. For MeidasTouch, this is Troy. Remember, smash that subscribe button to keep supporting independent media.
This November is Rowvember. MeidasTouch just released its brand new collection of Rowvember t-shirts and pins to let the country know what's at stake this upcoming midterm election. Go to store.meidastouch.com to grab yours. That's store.meidastouch.com.